Hello viewers, Super GT here. We have another week of daily races. That doesn't even make sense, does it? A week of daily races. Well, maybe it does if they were actually daily, but they're not daily, they're weekly. But anyway, it's race B at Lago Maggiore in Group 3. Let's see what this race is all about then. Good bit of fun around a cool track. Normally doing it the other way around, but this direction is pretty interesting as well. Starting at the back on the Ram Shadow account to see where we can get through to in 4 laps. Race B is never normally much more than that. We've gained 1 position courtesy of someone spinning out or getting punted to the Shadow Realm, something along those lines. This race is really characterised by actually being quite difficult to overtake on. It's actually not an easy circuit to get past, and that's sort of the one thing I really noticed, and you'll notice it throughout the course of this video. You do have to really sort of build up to do an overtake, and this corner here is quite a good place to do it, but there aren't many corners where you can really easily go full send, lick a stamp and go full send. It's not the easiest circuit for that, but let's see what we can do from the back of the pack, and then we'll go on to F4H Super GT, set a qualifying time, and try to race from the front. So coming up towards the final corner, it takes pretty much a lap to just get onto the back of the people ahead. So I'm definitely quicker than these guys, but given the way the rolling starts work, it just takes ages just to catch up. This is kind of the annoying thing for me about the rolling starts. They are too spread, I think. You see after lap 1, already 13 seconds away from the leader. Ideally it would be like half of that, it'd be a lot closer, because the gaps are just way too big. In lap 1 you're normally not even racing anyone, you're just trying to catch up to the person in front, and then you get everyone in a slipstream train, so it gets even harder to catch up. But those are just my thoughts. Yellow flag up ahead, so this is the thing we're kind of really waiting for. We're just waiting for people to spin out, basically. We've got a Dutchman here in a very awkward place, just as we come into the very fast downhill chicane. Thankfully he moves over to the right hand side, he was ghosted as well. So that's another position gained. Look at the inside of the Corvette. It's not the best move, a bit late, all over the curb. Get a bit squirmy over there. The Belgian guy goes too wide and moves over to the left hand side. Go past him by courtesy of that poor exit and also the prowess of the Corvette. He goes back past me. So we gain 1 on the Renault, but then we don't really gain on the Corvette overall. Big gap opening up ahead to 10th place, courtesy of all our fighting here. Lots of alternative lines through this section. I'm going to try to do something a little bit different to the Corvette, but not enough to get ahead. I'm going to go wider, try to cut him back maybe into this turn. Not quite close enough. As we get through the apex, really difficult corner that one, and it really can make or break your lap. When I was doing my qualifying laps, it was always that corner that would mess it up. I would be 1/10 or 2/10 up, and then all of a sudden I'd go to that corner and mess it completely up. It was just that turn, it's just something very strange about it. Curved entry, curved exit, very difficult to get dead right. This guy was taking a very wide line into this corner. He was never quite on the apex. Ideally you want your left wheels on the yellow stuff, or at least on the red and white, but he was kind of nowhere near that. German up ahead in 10th. You see that just making a mistake and losing a fair chunk of time. The Corvette spots that, tries to move over to the slipstream and gains a little bit of time there. Off through turn 1, very difficult corner to get right. You want to apex right at the end of the curb. And then this corner here can be done flat out, but sometimes you just comfort lifting slightly just to get a better angle into this left-hander. And then power out to the outside. And this left-hander here, using a lot of the curb if possible, which I haven't done there at all. We have another yellow flag. So who is this? A Beetle, and again right in a very, very ominous location. I'm just going to squeeze by. Just come out of that ghost at exactly the wrong moment. That's the hard thing to judge. When are they going to come out of that ghost? Because a lot of the time you think, oh, I could go through them, and then boom, you smack right into the back of them as they come back into the normal mode. On this occasion though, just slipped by, thankfully, up into 11th, gained 4 positions, but none because of actual overtakes, all because of people spinning out or losing control or whatever. But can we finally get one with a genuine overtake. We are still right behind this Corvette, but it's just really difficult to get that move fully done. The Corvette is a lot quicker than this Renault in a straight line. You can see that down the back straight. Are we close enough to go for a move here? Again, not quite close enough. We'll go through here, tuck into that slipstream. The Corvette has the slipstream of the BMW there in ninth, so it's going to be even harder for me now to try to keep up. You see just on that straight there, just how quickly that Corvette just pulls away. I really don't have the legs to keep up down any straight, so it's going to have to be a good move on the brakes into one of these turns. It's probably not going to be a slipstream pass down a straight that's going to do it. And again, he's very wide. I just think about sneaking up the inside, but the space wasn't really there to do that. On the exit of the final corner, the German into the wall, and I kind of feel for him there because I've been there. I've been in that wall, and let me tell you, it's not great. It's not a good experience. It's better to be on the tarmac than it is to be in the wall. At least that's from my experience. If there's one tip you should take away from this video, it's don't be in the wall. It's a very solid advice. I suggest you take it. I suggest to myself that I take it as well. Up the inside of this guy, just drove a little bit wide there. The space opened up, went for it, and we got the job done. So ideally I need to have a really good couple of corners here. The downhill chicane, big banky boy, and then I can pull away down the back straight, hopefully, as that Corvette, again, we saw it on lap 2, has really good straight line speed. So going through here, just touching the curb, we want to use it a little bit more than that ideally. On the power nice and early, move over to try and break the toe. You see the queue of cars behind. So it's not like I have it easy here. If I make a mistake, I could easily lose a couple of positions. The Corvette isn't quite close enough to go with the move there, thankfully. And that was probably his best opportunity to get back past me. So now it's a case of just trying to take this section here as cleanly and as quickly as possible to make sure I get away even further. Taking the extraordinary line there. If you watch the top replays, go through that section, they're right on the edge of what is allowed. Basically taking 2 wheels on the curb, 2 wheels well beyond it. But that is somehow allowed by the game. On the exit of the weird corner there, we pull 0.8 seconds ahead. You can see the gap just opening up. So I think I'm home and safe now, as long as I don't do anything really stupid. I've got a bit of time to play with here, so I don't need to really push too much, as the gap is near enough a second. As we come up towards the second to last corner, kind of want to trail brake in, go for that late apex, there we go, it's quite nicely done. And then use the curb here for sure. Don't hit the wall, of course. We learned that on the previous lap, or the German did at least. So we're going to cross the line to finish in 9th. Now, it's not 6th, but it is a gain of 6 places, so there you go. And it's a real mix of Renault and R8 for this race. Very, very much a mix of the two. So it was 9th, but let's just call it 6th for the lols. Okay, now qualified on the FYH Super GT account in the R8 with the Taylor Swift livery, which is worth about 10 seconds a lap. It was 2 seconds at Spa, but around here it's just absolutely rapid. Taylor Swift is properly OP. Properly OP, nothing you can do about that. So, let's see how the R8 fares around here. At the front of the pack, so the main objective really is, well, obviously to win, but mainly just to try to pull away from the pack as quickly as possible, not give them my slipstream, my toe. I'm sure they want to get as close as they can to Taylor Swift, but I want to get as far away from them as possible. Okay, so down the hill, already a second ahead, so things are going well at this point here. Down the hill through this second apex, very difficult to get right because it's blind. You can't really see it when you turn in, and the fact that the sun is quite low setting at this point in time makes it even harder to kind of spot. So after Big Banky Boy, lap 1, it was quite a convincing victory. We're going to fast forward there. 57.2 in the race, not bad pace at all without the slipstream. And we finished in 7 minutes and 53 seconds. So our 131st victory on this account. Disco's man, very happy, raising his hand there. We go again in the Renault. It seems to be a real tussle between the two cars here, the Renault and the Audi R8. I think as the week goes on, more and more people are choosing the Renault though. And this is something I think happens more in Europe. People tend to just choose the more dominant car, but from what I've heard of a lot of you guys saying in the comments who are living in other regions, mostly North American people, but for those of you who don't live in Europe or EMEA, apparently people choose a lot more varied cars. I don't know though. I'd like to know like what people do, because here in Europe for this race let's say, at the start of the week everyone chose the R8, mainly because that was dominating the leaderboard. But then as the week progressed, the Renault then took a couple of the top times on the top 10, and there was a big shift to people then using the Renault. And then it was basically 90% of people using either one of the two cars, but mostly the Renault later on. So there's a bit of a shift as the week progresses. Trying to pull away here. At the end of lap 1, the gap went up to 1.9. You can see that here, 1.9, so well out of slipstream range, nearly 2 seconds, so quite comfortable at this point. But I got a little bit complacent. At the start of lap 3, not concentrated as much as I should, and we make that mistake. And that gap drops down to what was nearly 2, to under 1 by this point, and I'm just driving really stupidly for this first sector, and you can see miles away from the apex, you could fit the Titanic between us there. As we come down the hill, flip to the radar because he's that close now. He's actually well within proximity to go for a move. And down into Big Banky Boy, is he close enough? Not quite, as he just touches the grass, so I can take the normal racing line here. But that just shows you, even if you're winning and it's looking good, even after lap 1 I got a 2 second gap, but it's not over, you have to keep going. As soon as they put in one good lap, even half a second better than you, they're back in the slipstream range. If they get back to that 1.5, there's a shift, there really is. I can see it normally. When people are, let's say 1.7 seconds and they can just get into that slipstream, then it's a very different race once they can do that. So you mustn't be complacent at all, which is exactly what I was. So I'm preaching all these lessons, but a lot of the time I'm messing up myself. But I suppose it's always a good way to learn, I suppose. Watch someone do it wrong, and then you can see how to do it right. Okay, so during the course of this lap, you see the gap just opening up a little bit more, so 0.6 now. So we can focus on that braking point. There's a little cut in the curb on the right-hand side, and you brake sort of just before that, and it gets you into that corner quite nicely. Normally just a little bit of a lift through this right-hander, and then braking just after the shadow, trail braking in, and hooking up the curb as much as you can, especially later on the curb, up into second, and gently on the power, avoiding the wall of course, and then that is the end of the lap. So he's 0.5 seconds behind. Going on to the final lap of 4. Let's try and do a really good first sector here, braking just before the end of the grass. Late apex, use the curb on the outside as well, use a little bit too much on the previous lap of course. And then very late apex for this right-hander, just braking a straight line, hook up with the curb, power out to the outside, and then turning quite early. You really want to get involved with the curb here, and then again, lots of the curb on the exit. So I'd say this lap is really characterised by using a lot of the curb. You really do have to make most of it, really maximise the track width. And I suppose that's true of most circuits, but around here I found it especially true that you need to really get friendly with the curbs. Through here, pretty much bang on it, could use a bit more. And we are now 1.2 seconds ahead. You see, really pulled out. That first sector was pretty much perfect, by my standards anyway. Pretty much nailed it. And that was the race done. In the end, 1.7 seconds ahead. In fact, the guy who was in second dropped down to 6th. He wanted to be the Super GT of the race, and he succeeded in bottling it and finishing 6th. Well done to him. Okay, so we have another victory, 132 on this account. Disco's man very happy. We move then to a very interesting race. I got a bit brave. I went for the McLaren. Up against dibblr, whose driver rating looks more like the Mount Everest range, or the Himalayas, should I say. This guy is very, very unusual. I would love to make a video on him one day called the dibblr experience, because I've had races against this guy where he just has an absolute meltdown. You can see it by his driver rating graph that I just showed. He actually has quite a high driver rating, like I think like nearly 60,000 at this point. I think mine's about 60,000 as well. So he's obviously quick, but then he has these massive meltdowns where, I don't know. I really just would love to see inside his brain, see what the hell is going on, because clearly it's not all at peace. And we're going to see if that's going to be the case here. I went a bit brave because those first 2 races I started pole and kind of won them convincingly. So I thought, can I win in something different? I tried the McLaren, but then I wasn't on pole. I was on 3rd. So it was a bit of a difficult race, this one, as we come down towards this sweeping section. So trying to go with something that isn't the Renault or the Audi. Now, The McLaren is a car I'm fairly familiar with, but I don't think it quite has the pace. Looking ahead at the Spaniard, just goes a little bit too wide, spins back across the circuit, goes out luckily, and we gain second place. So now it's a titanic 1v1 with the ultimate. Well, I don't know how to describe this guy. Just the fact that he has these massive episodes and gets driver rating resets every sort of couple of days is really quite spectacular. I've never quite seen that before. Even Momos would be proud of this guy. dibblr he's on another level. Driver rating chart like the Himalayas. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought that possible? Okay, so coming up towards the last sort of section here of lap number 3, we get quite close. And this is the thing about this race, slipstream is really important, but I'm really just hanging on. That's all I can do. It's very difficult, as I said earlier in the video, really difficult to sort of build up to that pass. It's like this car is at least a couple of tenths off per lap compared to the Audi and compared to the Renault. Maybe more than that, maybe half a second. So all I can do is just tuck into the slipstream and just keep up with him that way. But there's not much more I can do. He's definitely trying to break the toe, just follow him exactly where he goes, just to make sure I maximise that. But at the end of the race, we set a couple of 57s in the slipstream and finishing second. I suppose not too bad in a McLaren, could be worse. Taking advantage of the leader spinning out there. But dibblr, it was very weird. He says, yeah, good race, even though we've had history where he's wiped me out in races on a live stream. But that's all forgotten, clearly. That was a good race. Yes. Okay, anyway, next race. This was a really good one. I really enjoyed this one, and I hope you will too. We're going to be starting in second place in the Renault. So we improved our qualifying time to a 56.7. And during that qualifying session, my split, what's the right terminology? My possible best, I can't even remember what the word is now, it does escape me. If I combined all my best splits, I could have done a 0.5. So I could have gone a couple of tenths quicker than that. And a 0.5 would put me 1 second off the top time in the world. And normally that's a barometer for me. If I get within 1 second of the top, then I'm kind of content with that. That's normally about my limit. So, a direct duel here between the two Renaults. Let's see what we can do. Hulkenberg versus Ricciardo. I'm going to have to pull out some Ricciardo-esque moves if I want to win this one. Down the hill, braking just before the end of the yellow stuff on the right-hand side. Maybe a little bit too late on this occasion. But once again, we've seen it so many times. Just tuck into the slipstream. And I'm just going to at least keep up as long as I don't do anything stupid. I know that based on my qualifying times or my practice, I should be able to do low 57s at least every lap if I do a consistent race. It is a little bit difficult though, or a little bit different following someone, because the slipstream does help down the straights, but sometimes just having someone right in front of you can be distracting if you're trying to set the absolute best lap time, especially for that S's section we just went through. If you want to take the cutting grass line, then having a car right in your line of sight can prove to be something of a distraction. But at this occasion we're still right behind him and just shadowing him for now, just trying to build up to that overtake. Bit of lag there, I think. In fact, my connection is yellow, normally it's always green. I think I need to change my Wi-Fi password, as people are hacking into my Wi-Fi maybe. I'm going to ask Wi-Fi password for a good Wi-Fi password. He must have loads of them. He's the expert on them after all. Okay, I'm back to green, it's fine, we're good. Across the line we go to begin lap number 2. Just 3 tenths behind, so we are most certainly within range. Well, I'm not within range to go for a pass, but I'm within range to put him under some pressure, should we say. Let's come through turn number 2 into number 3. Maximise the curb here. Power out to the outside, turning nice and early. That's the mistake I make, turning in too late. Trying to be too clever with a late apex, but really just get into that corner early, and you'll meet the apex, and you'll be able to get on the power a lot earlier by doing it that way. Now through here, that corner there, the blind right-hander on the downhill S is probably my weakness in the track. That corner and the weird one towards the end. Not quite able to hook up as well as I would like. And by this point, end of lap number 3, kind of stabilising around 0.8 seconds behind. Guy in third, 1.4 behind, quite close. So I can't really afford to make too many mistakes here, otherwise I'm going to get dropped by the leader and get caught up by the guy in third. But I sensed a couple of mistakes during the course of the previous lap, and it's going to come down to this final lap here. So 0.6 behind, or less than that as we cross the line. And we're setting a 57.0, the fastest lap of the race. So I am quicker, so I've caught up on lap number 3 over the leader. And as we come out of turn 1, he drives very wide, and he's going to lose a bit of time there. He's going to keep the position, but his tyres are going to be a bit dirty here as we come into the next corner. So we've got a potential move on here. So the battle is going to go right down to the wire. Right behind him, this is as close as I've been for the entirety of this race. So down the downhill S's, and this has been my weakness for this race. He turns in really early, just commits very nicely, and it seems like I just can't get the car to turn through there. I need to turn in a little bit early. Head towards the apex really early. I think that really works. The car does get a little bit skittish on the way out while we're tucked into the slipstream. We should be less than 3 tenths behind him by the time we're turning into this next chicane. As we come down here then, using a bit of the curb on the entry here, you can do it flat out, but I think you need a bit of a comfort lift. Braking just on the end of the curb on the left. Using plenty of this curb here, and then this one here. He makes a mistake, goes a little bit too wide onto the grass. You want to either get your wheels on the curb or totally beyond it. You don't want to get on the grass. And the space is going to open up here. I'm going to go for a little cutback. Up the inside we go. We're going to go full send. Danny Ricciardo licked the stamp. Tiny bit of contact through the apex, but I've got the position with 1 sector left to go. He's firmly on my slipstream now. He's going to move back over to the right hand side. Give him a car width from the right. Hit our braking point. Nice and early, nice and cautious to make sure we don't go too deep. And then 2 corners left to go, 3 corners left to go, including this one. He's right on my back there. You see him on the radar. So I'm going to go very narrow. All he can do is go around the outside. He's tried it. There's just no way around the outside at a hairpin that sharp. It's just not possible. So just covered him off. We're going to come through for a clinical victory. Held it in the slipstream. He probably was quicker overall, really, if I didn't have the slipstream. But the slipstream exists, so I'm going to use it. And ultimately on this occasion, we use it very effectively to claim a victory. And the third one of the video. So quite a successful race for me, this one. Mainly because I did lots of practice laps. Lots of consistent practice laps. And I feel as though the qualifying time wasn't too bad either. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Many thanks all of you guys for watching. Many thanks for all my members and Patreon members, of course, as well. And if you want a bit more content, then maybe follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. But apart from that, have a very nice day. I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.